have any advice on what we can say to people who are grieving?
Well, I think the key thing to think about is what's really sincere. And so my guideline is keep it simple and keep it sincere. So it's really more how you say it or where it comes from than the perfect words, because there are no perfect words. So simple, like, wow, that sounds so hard, or I can't even imagine how much that must hurt. Just something along those lines.
Anything we shouldn't say?
In general, people don't like to feel rushed, like they shouldn't be where they are. So a lot of people in grief feel this pressure to move on and to be over it long before they are ready to move on. And so a lot of comments can seem to be pushing someone toward that. And that can just feel like more pressure rather than comforting. Other things to try to stay away from are comparing griefs. For example, well, at least you didn't lose your child, or some sort of comparison like, well, your grief is only this bad and somebody else's is this bad. Even if you think you do know how they feel, it's generally not a good thing to say, because when people are really in the depths of grief, they very much feel like no one's ever felt this way before, that no one could possibly know their pain. So yeah, just validating where they really are is the most important thing.
After my husband died many years ago, I don't really remember any words that were said, but I do remember the touches, a pat on the shoulder or a hug or holding my hand. That was the thing that I remember being most comforted by.
What can you say or do for somebody who's grieving?
I like to always say to give flowers. Flowers can convey comfort when words can't. And when it's hard to express your words, flowers can always be there to comfort somebody. It helps them cheer up and just know that someone's thinking of them, whether it's a flower picked from the garden or delivered to them, but just to know that you're thinking of them and that you care.
How best to comfort someone who's grieving?
Well, we're finding at the Hospice Unique Boutique many people who are grieving or have recently lost a loved one and have been cared by hospice have lots to talk about. And a particular event that happened just last Saturday, a woman who came in and donated some beautiful things that had belonged to her mother, really wanted to talk about the experience and the decision to put her mother on hospice and the conversation she had with her mother. Later I realized when she came back and said, "Thank you, you really heard me, and I really appreciated being able to tell this story." I realized that in itself is a real service at the boutique.
And can you give us some tips on helping a friend in grief?
Yeah, I think probably the first thing I would say is listen, listen, listen. Don't try and fix, don't try and give advice. It's really important to just let them talk. And the second thing would be not to judge whatever comes out, whatever you hear, because the emotions are going to be all over the place. There might even be some shocking emotions. And the third thing I would say is just to do something practical to help them out. If they've got kids, maybe pick them up and take them somewhere fun, mow the lawn, do some dishes, bring over a meal. Ask them what they might need some help with.
What words of comfort can you give someone who's grieving?
I would say to someone who's grieving that at a time when we're experiencing profound loss, life becomes very, very challenging. It's never easy. It's different for everyone, the experience of grief. We feel very vulnerable. There is common ground. We feel vulnerable, frightened. We feel overwhelmed, and we feel like we don't know how to cope with this new territory. Sometimes we even blame ourselves for what has happened that is causing our pain. We need to remember that grieving takes time and we cannot hurry ourselves through it. Befriend yourself, be gentle with yourself, and it is important to seek solace where it's available and to reach out to people who can listen and offer support. Grieving is part of being human. A support group can be very helpful.
being with others who are going through something similar. But most of all, be kind and gentle with yourself.